Hi, my name is Shripad and welcome to this video on 5 cool Excel formulae. Okay, so the version we are going to use is Excel 2007 and here are the formulae which we are going to see today, and here is the data set which we will be using to apply those formulae. So let's jump in. The first formula we are going to see is the VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup, and it helps us search for a value in a column of a table, and returns us the value in another column in the same table, which is in the same row as the key or the value we are searching for. To understand it, we'll first see this data set. So here you can see we have a table of say employees with the name, city and their salaries. As you can see, there are 3 people from Mumbai, 2 people from Pune and 1 guy from Singapore. With this kind of data set, suppose the question is we want to know the salary of Manish. Okay, so just for the convenience I'll just write down the names here. Okay, now we want to pull the salary, we want to look up the salary. So we'll write this formula equal to, that's how the formula starts, lookup. Okay, we'll see it here because it's more visible. Okay, the first parameter is the lookup value. It is the value which you want to search for or look up for. In our case, this is the value, Manish. You can just write a text here in double quotes, for example, like this. Okay, but it's convenient to use an adjacent cell or something, because if you want to change the search key, it's very easier without messing up the formula. So I'm going to select this cell G11, which is anyway giving us the same value. Okay, this comma, the second parameter is the table array. This is the data set, the whole data set. Okay, and one thing to note is the key which you want to search for, okay, should be the first column of your table array. So we want to search for names. Okay, so the name should be the first column of your table array. Suppose we were searching for city, so in that case your table array should start from city, but in our case it's the name, so we have selected the whole data set. You can also select headers, there is no issue as long as the header value doesn't match with one of your search keys. Okay, plus comma again. The third parameter is the column index. So this column index is nothing but the position or the column from where you want to pull the value. So in our case we have 3 columns. First is always going to be where this value is going to be looked up, and we want to return the value from salary column, so it's 1 2 3, so it's the third column, right? So in our case it will be 3, again comma. Now the fourth parameter is whether you want to search with an approximate match or exact match. So we want an exact match, so we will be writing false here. Now our formula is done, so when I press enter, it is going to look up and evaluate the formula, and the value shown is 1100. So Manish is having salary of 1100, right? That's correct. Suppose we want a salary of Chris, so I'll just write Chris here, and as you can see the formula has correctly picked up the salary of Chris. One thing to note here, you should exactly know the key you are searching for. Suppose you write Krish instead of Chris, okay, it is not going to give value. Okay, so it has to be exact. There's another formula similar to VLOOKUP, that is HLOOKUP, which basically looks up horizontally for the value or the key, and then gives us the return value from subsequent rows where the match is found. Okay, so it's easier, similar to VLOOKUP. You can just try it on your own. If you have any problems, just let me know, comment it. I'll help you solve the problems. The second one we are going to look is subtotal. Now this is an incredibly powerful formula. This is not a one formula actually. It contains multiple subset of formula inside that, and it operates on a given data set. So I have copied the same data set here, and I have applied this filters. If you don't know how to apply filters, you just select all the header cells, go into the data tab, and click on this filter. If I again click on this is going to remove these filters. If I click again, it will enable these filters. So it's in the data tab. Okay, now subtotal operates on the visible rows of a given data set. So here you can see we have 6 records in this data set. Suppose I select a city, say Mumbai. Now the visible records are reduced to just 3 records. Okay, and so if I remove this filter, say, okay, I'll first remove this. Suppose I want to do sum of salaries. Okay, so there is a simple formula sum, which you probably already know. So sum is nothing but a simple sequence of cells where it will pick up the numbers from. We can also give a range like this. So it is giving us this summation of 86850, which is correct. Suppose I filter this record set with the city as Mumbai. Okay, now there are only 3 records here, Ash, Manish and Kailash, but the problem is my summation is still showing the total salaries of all the people in this data set. Okay, not just which are currently visible or currently filtered out. So this problem is solved by using subtotal. You'll see how. So I'll say equal to subtotal. One more thing I want to tell you, suppose you're writing some formula, and the formula which you want to write is currently selected in blue. Suppose now substitute it highlighted, but if I scroll down, subtotal is selected, and then I click tab, right? So it will write down all the formula and give us a starting bracket as well. So the first parameter in subtotal is the function number. Okay, so the function number is, we'll write it again just to, okay, so here you can see this is actually the parameter indicates what type of operation you want to perform on this result set below. So you want average, count, max, min, something. We'll pick sum because we want to make summation. So it's just a number 9, right? So the function number 9, and the reference set is this. Okay, I'll close this now. You see we are getting the same summation 6850, but now if I filter this data set again, say by city equal to Mumbai, so there are only 3 visible records, and now you can see we are seeing the summation of only this filter data set. Cool, isn't it? So if I select Pune now, this will give us the summation of only these 2 records which are currently visible. Fine. You can apply any number of filters. Suppose you select only Shri. In this case there is only 1 record, so it's the same, but the point is you can have any number of filters. Suppose you have hundreds of columns, thousands of rows, then this is a very useful feature. Okay, so I'll clear these filters. An exciting thing is that we just saw summation, right? We saw here that this function can take parameter of what you want to operate on. So you can count, you can take min, max, some standard deviation, statistic stuff, anything you want to do with the given data set. So if you say count, for example, so we'll write it down 3. Okay, so it is giving us 6. The 6 is the number of records. So if I again give a city, so Pune Singapore, for example, there are 3 records. So what function you want to use to operate on this set, that's how it will work. Okay, so just experiment with other sub functions as well, and I'm sure this is going to be a very useful function for you. Okay, so the next one is SUMIF. We know how to sum, right? But what if we want to conditionally make summation of? I have to remove this. Okay, suppose I want to know how much salary is paid to the employees from Mumbai. Okay, so I will have to sum values from this column, but there is a condition that where city equal to Mumbai, right? So we can do it using this SUMIF function like this. So SUMIF or range. So range is where you want to apply your criteria. Okay, so this is a range of cities, right? Comma, criteria is nothing but the city name, and sum range is again this last column of salaries. So if I do this, it is 3600, right? So it's going to look up Mumbai. It's internally actually working as a VLOOKUP plus sum, sort of, you can imagine. So suppose if I change this Mumbai to Pune. So Pune, this 1000 and 1050, so it's 2050, right? We have given one condition. There is another alternative of this, that is SUMIFS, which stands for SUMIFS. So you can give more than one condition, right? So it's suppose there are 2 ash in Mumbai. So I'll write down ash here so that I want to use it in formula. So here instead of SUMIF, we'll write SUMIFS. Yes, right? So we want summation of salaries of all the ashes in Mumbai. Okay, so here it's a parameter sequence is a little bit different. So in case of SUMIFS, the sum range comes first. Now it's a sequence of criteria range and criteria range and criteria. So the first criteria range is the city and criteria is Pune, right? The second criteria range is these names, criteria is ash. So if I close this, enter, it hasn't worked because there is no ash in Pune. Okay, so we have to use Mumbai. Here we get 2500. So ash Mumbai, that's 900, ash Mumbai is 1600, that comes to 1500, 2500, sorry, right? So there is no limit. You can if you have say 10 columns, you can apply 10 conditions as well, or 9 conditions for example. And in a complex result set, this is a really helpful function. Right, so try it out. The next one we are going to try is if error. Okay, so if suppose you have some complex formula which operates on data which is coming from different cells, and you have a huge data set and you have applied this formula for each row in your data set. Now some data may be bad, which gives you that hash NA or divide by 0 errors, ugly errors in Excel, and you don't want those errors to be seen in your Excel reports. So here's an easier way to control how to handle those errors. So here for example, I'm using these two values in some complex formula here, and here is the result. I know that value 2 is in denominator, so to throw an error here, I'm going to make the denominator 0. So it should give divide by 0, right? But no, it gives a special error, like some error occurred. This is not an Excel, this is what I have written here. So if I click on this, it's a very simple formula basically. So it's a if error, now some complex formula which is using some values coming from different places, and a value which is to be used in case this formula gives an error, right? It's pretty simple. We'll write the formula again. So just say if error, when now this value is nothing but your formula. So whatever you want to write it down here, just write it down. I'm just going to use this formula which I have earlier written, or just I'll write it down again. So suppose this into 2 into 5.6 whatever divided by this. Okay, suppose this is my formula, and the value if error. So in case this formula throws an error, what do you want to show here? So suppose we say formula error, something like that, whatever you want to show. And it's not necessary that it should be text, it can be any other alternative value. For example, you can just show 0 or something else, right? So it shows formula error. If I change it back to 24, it is giving us the value. One thing to note, this will not interfere at all with the value coming out of this formula if it is not erroring. So it's safe, it is purely error handling stuff. And the last one for day is the random. Now you can think of how this is going to be useful for you. Maybe you are creating an Excel sheet which is showing a lucky number for the user for today, or something like that. So it's usually very common to have random function in programming languages, but it's good to have in Excel. This function is very simple, RAND, and this returns a value between 0 and 1. Okay, it can return 0, so it's greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. So it will never have 1, but it's always 0.99999 or less. Okay, and there is a sibling of this function, that is random between, RAND between. It takes two integers and it will give you integer randomly among this range. Okay, so every time you press F9, or that's equivalent to doing a calculate formula in Excel sheet, this is going to give us a different value. We can try something new here, say 125,999. Okay, so it's going to give you a different value every time. Just to show you, I can press F9 and let me show you where it is. So if you go in formula tab, yeah, so this is calculate now, right? So it is the shortcut key is F9. So if you press F9 or do a calculate again, and just pay attention here. So if I click on this calculate now, see how both the numbers change. So every time your Excel sheet is calculating formula, this random function is going to be executed and it will generate a random number for you, right? Okay, so that's all for today. So I hope these functions will help you in your day-to-day jobs, or to impress your boss, or just to have fun, right? Excel is an incredible tool when you know how to use it. So I hope this helps you, and thank you for watching.